A sail plan is a set of drawings, usually prepared by a naval architect. It shows the various combinations of sail proposed for a sailing ship. The combinations shown in a sail plan almost always include three configurations: a light air sail plan, over most of the earth. Most of the time, the wind force is force 1 or less. Thus, a sail plan should include a set of huge, lightweight sails that will keep the ship underway in light breezes. A working sail plan. This is the set of sails that are changed rapidly in variable conditions. They are much stronger than the light air sails, but still lightweight. An economical sail in this set will include several sets of reefing ties, so the area of the sail can be reduced in a stronger wind. A storm sail plan. This is the set of very small, very rugged sails flown in a gale, to keep the vessel underway and in control. In all sail plans, the architect attempts to balance the force of the sails against the drag of the underwater keel in such a way that the vessel naturally points into the wind. In this way, if control is lost, the vessel will avoid broaching and being beaten by breaking waves. Broaching always causes uncomfortable motion, and in a storm, the breaking waves can destroy a lightly built boat. The architect also tries to balance the wind force on each sail plan against a range of loads and ballast. The calculation assures that the sail will not knock the vessel sideways with its mast in the water, capsizing and perhaps sinking it. Terminology. Types of rig. Fore and aft rig features flat sails that run fore and aft. These types of sails are the easiest to manage, because they often do not need to be relaid when the ship changes course. Bermuda rig is a type of fore and aft rig with a triangular mainsail. Gaff rig features fore and aft sails shaped like a triangle minus its point, the upper edge of which is made fast to a spar called the gaff. The top of the sail tends to twist away from the wind, reducing its efficiency when close haul. However, due to the gaff on the top edge of the sail, the center of effort is typically lower, somewhat reducing the angle of heel compared to a similar-sized Bermuda-rigged sail. Square rig features sails set square to the mast from a yard of spar running transversely in relation to the hull. In ships built using older designs of the square rig, sailors would have to climb the rigging and walk out on foot ropes under the yard to furl and unfurl the sails. In a modern square rig design, the crew can furl and unfurl sails by remote control from the deck. Some cruising craft with fore and aft sails will carry a small square sail with top and bottom yards that are easily rigged and hauled up from the deck. Such a sail is used as the only sail when running downwind under storm conditions, as the vessel becomes much easier to handle than under its usual sails, even if they are severely reefed. The teen rig features a triangular sail set on a long yard mounted at an angle on the mast and running in a fore and aft direction. This is one of the lowest drag sails. Types of sail. Each form of rig requires its own type of sails. Among them are: a staysail is a piece of cloth that has one or two sides attached to a stay, that is, one of the ropes or wires that helps hold the mast in place. A staysail was classically attached to the stay with wooden or steel hoops. Sailors would test the hoops by climbing on them. A jib is a head sail that flies in front of the foremost vertical mast. Order. The standard terminology assumes three masts, from front to back: the foremast, mainmast and mizzenmast. On ships with fewer than three masts, the tallest is the mainmast. Ships with more masts number them. From bottom to top, the sails of each mast are named by the mast and position on the mast, e.g., for the main mast, from a lowest to highest: main course, main topsail, main topgallant, main royal, main skysail, and main moonraker. Since the early 19th century, the topsails and topgallants are often split into a lower and an upper sail to allow them to be more easily handled. This makes the mast appear to have more sails than it officially has. On many warships, sails above the fighting top were mounted on separate masts held in wooden sockets called tabernacles. These masts and the stays could be rigged astruck as the weather and tactical situation demanded. In light breezes, the working square sails would be supplemented by studding sails out on the ends of the yard arms. These were called as a regular sail, with the addition of studding. For example, the main-top studding sail. The staysails between the masts are named from the sail immediately below the highest attachment point of the stay holding up the staysail. Thus, the mizzen-top-gallant staysail can be found dangling from the stay leading from above the mizzen-mast's top-gallant sail to some place on the second mast. The jibs, staysails between the first mast and the bowsprit, were named for topmast staysail, inner jib, outer jib and flying jib. All of the jib stays meet the foremast just above the foretop-gallant. Unusually, a fore-royal staysail may also be set. Material sails were classically made of hemp or cotton. They are now made from polyesters, sometimes reinforced with crystalline hydrocarbons. Some large, lightweight sails are made of polyamides. Lines in the age of sail lines were made of manila, cotton, hemp, or jute. Modern lines are made of polyester, polyamides, and sometimes crystallized hydrocarbons. Standing rigging may include wire rope made of stainless or galvanized steel. Other older, or less common materials include papyrus in ancient Egypt and coir. Standing rigging does not change position. Usually it braces the masts. Running rigging is used to adjust sails and anchors. A line is a rope that has been put to use aboard a sailing vessel. A stay is a wire or rope that supports a mast. It is part of the standing rigging, usually located in the fore-aft plane of the vessel. A shroud is similar to a stay, but is located in the athwartship plane of the vessel. Thus, shrouds come down to the sides of the boat and are attached to chain plates. Shrouds may be held away from the mast by spreaders. A vang is a rope used to pull something around or down. A boom vang pulls down on a boom. A sheet is a line used to adjust the position of a sail so that it catches the wind properly. Halyards are the lines on which one pulls to hoist something, e.g., the main top-gallant staysail halyard would be the line on which one pulls to hoist the main top-gallant staysail. A block is the seaman's name for a pulley block. It may be fixed to some part of the vessel as spars, or even tied to the end of a line. The sheave is the wheel within a block, or a spar, over which a line is rowed. A fiddle block has two or more sheaves in one block, each with its own axle, so the sheaves are aligned. A snatch block can be closed around a line, to grab the line, rather than threading the end of the line through the block. A shackle is a piece of metal to attach two ropes, or a block to a rope, or a sail to a rope. Customarily, a shackle has a screw-in pin which often is so tight that a shackle key must be used to unscrew it. A snap shackle does not screw, and can be released by hand, but it is usually less strong or more expensive than a regular shackle. Running lines are made fast by belaying them to a cleat or a belaying pin located in a pin rail or fife rail. Wrapping the rope holds it tight and prevents the line from slipping, i.e. stops it. Thus, to belay something meant to stop a sea-sit in naval slang. Sprit and stays. Bowsprit, a horizontal spar extending from the bow of the boat used to attach the forestay to the foremost mast. Sails which attach to the stays of the bowsprit are called forestay sails. Bobstays, a heavy stay directly below the bowsprit attaching on the above the waterline on the stem to the bowsprit's end. Often the strongest on a ship, frequently made of chain. Whisker stays, any number of pair of stays on either side of the bowsprit and jib-boom bracing them against lateral forces. Jib-boom, a horizontal spar completely outboard the vessel and laying on top of the bowsprit. used to fly the jibs from and attach the upper forestays to the higher masts. Dolphin striker. Under the tip of the bowsprit runs downward a heavy pole to provide tension to the jib-boom. Martingale backstays. A pair of stays on either side of the bobstay run to the bottom of the dolphin striker, sometimes from the cathead. Martingale. A stay that ends from the bottom of the dolphin striker to the end of the jib-boom. The stays on a ship roughly form hoops of tension holding the masts up against the wind. Many ships have been tuned by tightening the rigging in one area and loosening it in others. The tuning can create most of the stress on the stays in some ships. Types of ships. Sailboat types may be distinguished by hull configuration, keel type, purpose, number and configuration of masts, sail plan.Pro are constructible using Stone Age tools. Variations on the crab-claw sail rig on various sized open ocean canoes carried the Pacific Island navigators on regular long-range trips. Both ends are alike, and a boat is sailed in either direction, but it has a high windward side and a lower leeward side supported by an outrigger. Sunfish. A variation on the proa with a single unstayed mast and a single sail, which uses upper and lower spars like a crab-claw sail but which pivots around the mast like a lateen. The usage of two straight spars allows for the sails to be cut straight without any camber factored in, making the sails considerably simpler to manufacture. Brigana or felucca. A classic in the Mediterranean or Indian Ocean. 3 lateen sails in a row. Catboat. A sailboat with a single mast and single sail, usually gaff-rigged. This is the easiest sail plan to sail, and is used on the smallest and simplest boats. The catboat is a classic fishing boat. A popular movement among home-built boats uses this simple rig to make folk boats. One of the advantages of this type is that it can be rigged with no boom to hit one's head and knock one into the water. However, the gaff requires 2 halyards and often 2 topping lifts. The weight of the gaff spar high in the rigging can be undesirable. The gaff's fork is held on by a rope threaded through beads called trucks or parrel beads. The gaff must slide down the mast, and therefore prevents any stays from bracing the mast. This usually makes the rig even heavier, requiring yet more ballast. Sloop. A Bermuda Rig. Gaff mainsail lifted by a single mast with a single jib bent onto the forestay, held taut with a backstay. The mainsail is usually managed with a spar on the underside called a boom. One of the best performing rigs per square foot of sail area and is fast for upwind passages. This rig is the most popular for recreational boating because of its potential for high performance. On small boats, it can be a simple rig. On larger sloops, the large sails have high loads, and one must manage them with winches, a multiple purchase block and tackle devices. Gunter. A rig designed for smaller boats where the mast is often taken down. It consists of a relatively short mast and a long gaff. However, rather than the usual trapezoidal shape of a gaff sail, it is triangular, like a Bermuda Rig. This allows the gaff, when hoisted, to pivot upwards until it is vertical, effectively forming an extension to the mast. Thus, a decent-sized sailing rig can be added to the boat while still allowing all the equipment to be stowed completely inside it. The popular mirror class of dinghy is gunter-rigged for this reason. Lugger. Similar to a gaff rig, but a lugger's gaff does not attach to the mast. Instead, it is allowed to move forward and after the mast and is managed through a series of lines that attach to the gaff and to the corners of the sail. May or may not have a boom along its foot. In Scotland, when constructed with a main dipping lug sail and a mizzen standing lug sail, such vessels were known as fifes, sailing fifes, or herring drifters, and were often used for herring fishing. Cutter. A small single-masted ship ship with fore and aft rigging on its only mast and with 2 or more head sails, frequently a bowsprit as well. Better than a sloop for light winds, it is also easier to manage, due to the sail area being split up between smaller sails which require less force to trim as compared to the larger single jib of the sloop. The mast is located at about 50% of boat length. Yawl, a small ship, fore and aft rigged on its 2 masts, with its main mast much taller than its mizzen and with or without head sails. The mizzen mast is located aft of the rudder post, sometimes directly on the transom, and is intended to help provide helm balance. Ketch, a small ship with 2 masts, both fore and aft rigged, with the mizzen located well forward of the rudder post and of only slightly smaller size than the mainmast. Historically, the mainmast was square-rigged instead of fore and aft, but in modern usage only the latter is called a ketch. The purpose of the mizzen sail in a ketch rig, unlike the mizzen on a yawl rig, is to provide drive to the hull. A ketch rig allows for shorter sails than a sloop with the same sail area, resulting in a lower center of sail and less overturning moment. The shorter masts therefore reduce the amount of ballast and stress on the rigging needed to keep the boat upright. Generally, the rig is safer and less prone to broaching or capsize than a comparable sloop, and has more flexibility in sail plan when reducing sail under strong crosswind conditions. The mainsail can be brought down entirely and the remaining rig will be both balanced on the helm and capable of driving the boat. The ketch is a classic small cargo boat, junk for standard Chinese design. The sails are made flat with bamboo inserts, permitting them to sail well on any point of sail. Easy to sail and reasonably fast. The nature of the rig places no extreme loads anywhere on the sail or rigging, thus can be built using lightweight, less expensive materials. Junks also customarily had internal watertight rooms. They remained watertight because they had no door to other watertight compartments. Movement was over the wall by ladders or companionways. Usually they were constructed of teak or mahogany. Schooner, a fore and aft rig having at least 2 masts, with a foremast that is usually smaller than the other masts. Schooners have traditionally been gaff-rigged and in small craft are generally 2-masted. However, many have been built with Marconi rigs rather than gaffs, and in the golden age of sail, vessels were built with as many as 7 masts. One of the easiest types to sail, but performs poorly to windward without gaff topsails. The extra sails and ease of the gaff sails make the rig easier to operate, though not necessarily faster, than a sloop on all points of sail other than upwind. Schooners were more popular than sloops prior to the upsurge in recreational boating. The better performance of the sloop upwind was outweighed for most sailors by the better performance of the schooner at all other, more comfortable points of sail. Advances in design and equipment over the last 100 years have diminished the advantages of the schooner rig. Many schooners sailing today are either reproductions or replicas of famous schooners of old. Topsail schooner, 2 topsail schooner, a jackass brig, a schooner having 1 or more square-rigged sails on its foremast and mainmast, but still having gaff-rigged mainsails on all masts. Brig, 2 masts, both square-rigged. The mainmast has a square mainsail and a spanker sail behind it. They are considered very fast and maneuverable, and can reach speeds of up to 11 knots. Brigantine, brig, 2 masts, a square-rigged foremast and a mainmast with a gaff mainsail and square topsails, with staysails between the masts. For UK terminology, it is the gaff-rigged mainsail on a brigantine which distinguishes it from the brig, which is principally square-rigged on both masts. In American terminology, this sail plan is often considered still a brig, and the term brigantine usually refers to a vessel with the foremast square-rigged and the mainmast fore and aft rigged, without any square sails. Hermaphrodite brig. A schooner brig, 2 masts, square-rigged on the foremast and fore and aft rigged on the mainmast. Snow similar to the brig in that it has 2 masts, both of them square-rigged. Where it differs from the brig is that instead of being attached to the mainmast, the spankersail is attached to a small trysail mast just abaft aft the mainmast. Bark 3 masts or more, square-rigged on all except the aftmost mast. Usually 3 or 4-masted but 5-masted barks have been built. Lower speed, especially downwind, but requiring fewer sailors than a ship. This is a classic slow cargo ship. Brigantine, a schooner bark, a 3-masted vessel, square-rigged on the foremast and fore and aft rigged on the main and mizzen masts. Some sailors who have sailed on them say it is a poor handing compromise between a bark and a ship, though having more speed than a bark. A schooner, Palaka, a 3-master with a narrow hull, carrying a square-rigged foremast followed by 2 lateen sails. The same vessel, if she substituted her square-rigged mast with another lateen-rigged one, would be called a ebec. Fully rigged ship, 3 or more masts, square-rigged on all, usually with staysails between masts. The classic ship rig originally had exactly 3 masts, but 4 and 5-masted ships were also built. Occasionally the mizzenmast would have a fore and aft sail as its core sail, but in order to qualify as a fully rigged ship, the vessel would need to have a square-rigged topsail mounted above this. The classic sailing warship, the ship of the line, was full-rigged in this way, because of high performance on all points of wind. In particular, studding sails or topping sails could be easily added for lighter as to high speeds. Square rigs have twice the sail area per mast height compared to triangular sails, and when tuned more exactly approximate to multiple airfoil, and therefore apply larger forces to the hull. Windage is more than triangular rigs, which have smaller tip vortices. Therefore, historic ships could not point as far upwind as high-performance sloops. However, contemporary Marconi rigs were limited in size by the strength of available materials, especially the sails and the running rigging to set them. Ships were not so limited because the sails were smaller relative to the hull, distributing forces more evenly over more masts. Therefore, due to the much larger, longer waterline length, ships had much faster hull speeds, and could run down or away from any contemporary sloop or other Marconi rig, even if it pointed more upwind. Schooners have a heavier rig and require more ballast than ships, which increases the wetted area and hull friction of a large schooner compared to a ship of the same size. The result is that a ship can run down or away from a schooner of the same hull length. Ships were larger than brigs and brigantines, and faster than barks or barquentines, but required more sailors. Sail plan measurements. Every sail plan has maximum dimensions. These maxima are for the largest sail possible, and they are defined by a letter abbreviation. J. The base of the fore triangle measured along the deck from the forestay into the front of the mast. I. The height measured along the front of mast from the jib halyard to the deck. E. The foot length of the mainsail along the boom. P. The luff length of the mainsail measured along the aft of the mast from the top of the boom to the highest point that the mainsail can be hoisted, at the top of the mast. A. The length of a second boom. P. Y. The height of the second mast from the boom to the top of the mast.